To commemorate June 12 Democracy Day, President Bola Tinubu is set to attend a joint session of the National Assembly to commemorate the day. And Senator Sam Ayawu today is insisting that he remains the National Secretary of the party. That's coming a day after the party held the NEC meeting without him. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I am Sean Wakimale here in Abuja. Let's begin by letting you know that it does look like the celebration or the commemoration of the June 12 is going to take maybe a different texture for this year. That's because the President of the Senate, Senator Gabriel, has announced that a joint session of the National Assembly will be held on the 12th of June to commemorate Democracy Day. And the interesting part of it is that President Bola Tinubu has agreed, according to the Senate President, to attend the joint session. He made the announcement that he's the Senate President after the Red Chamber reconvened for plenary today. The Senate President also disclosed that President Bola Tinubu has graciously agreed to attend the joint session in person. ECOWAS is 50, and so the attention of the world and the region is on the commemoration, the celebration of the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, and ahead of in that light, leaders in the region are meeting in Abuja, in Lagos rather, where President Bola Tinubu is also in attendance alongside several other leaders in the region, perhaps the only surviving leaders at this time when the ECOWAS was instituted. General Yakubu Gowon was present, and part of what is expected is to seek for the unity of the region. A lot of speeches were made. Let me allow you to listen to some of part of what was said earlier today in Lagos.
ECOWAS is a beacon of African unity and overcoming colonial policies, legacies. We brought together Anglophone, Francophone, and Lesothophone nations under one vision, an achievement of global significance. Yes, our diversity is moving for our unity and stability. Our region has pioneered the free movement, expanded inter-trade, regional trade, and deepened integration through instruments like the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme and joint border posts. These measures have facilitated business, cultural exchanges and mobility across West Africa.
That's President Bola Tinubu. Let's now bring you up to speed with some of your political roundup stories. All right, we'll bring you that in a moment. But tonight, our attention is on the state of the nation under the Bola Tinubu government. How do you assess this government? Has it done well in the 2 years that he's been in office? What is the role of the opposition? We are hearing about coalition and how they are meeting and what they intend to do. Beyond all of the politicking and the politics and the meeting is the interest of the Nigerian people. The question is, what is in the interest of the Nigerian people in all of what they are saying? Do they have better ideas? Is the government of the day doing better in the interest of the Nigerian people? All of that we'll be discussing for you tonight, but let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
The Senate has adopted the Harmonized Conference Committee report on 4 critical tax reform bills aimed at overhauling the country's revenue and tax administration framework. The Senate resolution followed the consideration and approval of recommendations from the Joint Conference Committee, which was constituted by both chambers of the National Assembly to harmonize discrepancies in the versions of the bill passed by each house. The Senate has also passed the 2025 FCT Statutory Appropriation Bill, authorizing a total expenditure of 1.81 trillion naira for the FCT for the 2025 fiscal year after a third reading. The passage followed the presentation of the Joint Committee report by Senator Mohammed Ibrahim, which reviewed and harmonized inputs from both chambers in accordance with several sections of the 1999 Constitution. The total recurrent expenditure comprising personnel and overhead stands at 502.38 billion naira, while capital projects will take the largest share of the budget. The House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate alleged violations of the Student Loan Act. This comes from a motion of urgent importance on alleged unethical practices in the disbursement of student loans by Aliyu Abdullahi. Presenting a motion on the floor of the House, the lawmaker expressed deep concern over alleged misconduct threatening the integrity and transparency of the student loan scheme established under the Student Loans Access to Higher Education Act 2024. The program, which offers interest-free loans to eligible Nigerian students, has reportedly recorded over 500,000 registered applicants and disbursed more than 54 billion naira nationwide. However, Mustafa cited disturbing revelations that cast serious doubt on the administration of the scheme. A former Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, has approached the Court of Appeal in Abuja, praying it to set aside the judgment granting the government full control of a substantial estate in Abuja, comprising 753 housing units. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission had earlier obtained a court order to seize the estate situated in the Lokogoma district of Abuja. The estate was originally linked and recovered from an unnamed former government official. However, Emefiele, through his legal representative A.M. Kotoye, filed a motion as an interested party in the suit. He contends that he ought to have been involved in the proceedings. He is now seeking the appeal court's reversal of the lower court's ruling. He alleged that the EFCC published the interim forfeiture notice in an obscure section of the newspaper, making it difficult for him to respond in a timely manner. The Tony Okocha-led Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC has formally endorsed President Bola Tinubu as the party's sole candidate for the 2027 presidential election. The endorsement was made during a stakeholders meeting in Port Harcourt, the state's capital. Speaking at the meeting, Mr. Tony Okocha said the gathering aimed to brief ward chairmen on recent developments in the party and the endorsements of President Tinubu's re-election.
Thank you so much, everyone. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup story. So let's tell you what happened today in the PDP. We have our eyes on the opposition party and their activities, especially the internal crisis. So ahead of the June 30th NEC meeting set by the party, the People's Democratic Party, the embattled National Secretary of the PDP, Senator Samuel Ayan, was vowed never to back down. And he's saying that he's going on in his quest to retain his office as the National Secretary of the party. Senator Ayan wrote to journalists at a news conference in Abuja that he's never resigned from his office as the National Secretary of the PDP and wonders why anyone should declare his seat vacant and wants the leadership of the PDP not to plunge the party into deeper crisis but attempted to oust him through the back door. Take a listen to him.
I campaigned. I went to all the states campaigning for this position, and I was elected. And my position is for 4 years, with the constitution guarantees. And the next convention is by August or October. I will have just 4 months to go. Why would you want to put the party into a turmoil? Why would you sacrifice me? And you think I will sit and watch? It's not about making sacrifice. It's about doing the right thing. It's only when you do the right thing that somebody can make a sacrifice. I think that our parties should be very careful. They should be very, very careful. And you see, I respect our governors. I respect them because I know it's not easy to be a governor. But that a governor does not mean that you cannot come out and tell your colleague the truth. They all know the truth. Why are they shying away from it?
All right, then. That is one thing that we will be dwelling on tonight. My guest is a former governor of the People's Democratic Party, an opposition voice in the National Assembly. They're able to tell the APC government the truth about the state of the nation. Don't forget, the president is seeking to the approval of the National Assembly for more borrowings, external borrowings. We'll be looking at all of these issues, plus the internal politics of the People's Democratic Party. And that's going to be next after this break, everyone. Join us again. So much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the program. So yesterday, we all followed what happened at the Legacy House when the People's Democratic Party and the leaders had held the NEC meeting. You could see most of the governors of the People's Democratic Party present at the NEC meeting, and some former governors, prominent faces in the PDP meeting there. But there is some kind of feeling after that meeting that the party is perhaps headed in the right direction. But part of what they decided at that meeting is on the issue of the zonal arrangement and the issues of how the party is going to move forward. Unfortunately, they were not able to resolve the issue of the national secretary of the party, which Senator Sam Ayan today is saying that he remains the national secretary of the PDP. Let me remind you what happened from yesterday's the aftermath of the NEC meeting of the PDP yesterday.
NEC also received and ratified the composition of the committee on the zoning of national offices ahead of the national convention. The members of these zoning committees are Governor Tuediri, Chairman, Governor Daudalawan, Vice Chairman, and Caleb Mufwan, Secretary. That's the zoning committee. The members of the National Convention Committee are Governor Ahmadu Umaru Pinturi, Chairman, Governor Ademola Adeli, Vice Chairman, and Governor Peter Mba, Secretary. Next also received the resolution of the Southeast Zonal Executive with regard to the issue of the National Secretary and to be considered and deliberate upon in the next NEC, which is slated for 30th. NEC reassures Nigerians that the PDP remains strong, resilient, united, and determined now, more than ever before, in leading the charge to rescue our nation from the vicious grip of APC administration.
That's the national chairman of, the acting national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Umar Damagum. The chairman of the PDP Governors Forum also is optimistic and is maybe more than ever thinks that the party is in the good place to moving forward. And this is the governor of Bauchi, Senator Bala Mohammed.
There are so many innuendos, political movements that have been done. Today we are being bombarded by the issue of coalition, defection, a gale of defection that is even affecting some of our members. Our members are standing strong and resolute. There is no intimidation that we are not going through. There is no caressing or cajoling that members, as your elected governors, are not going through, if you ask any one of them. But certainly, we are resolute. We will not abandon the mandate. And that is why you can see us here together. Yes, we wish well for those who have left. But we believe this is not the first time people left PDP and came back. I'm sure they will come back.
All right, then. That is the position of the governor of Bauchi and the chair of the PDP Governors Forum, Senator Bala Mohammed. He feels that the party is being vilified and unnecessarily the party is being haunted. But by who? Well, if Senator Samayawu says he remains the national secretary of the party, is part of what the party says they will resolve in the coming NEC, which will be the 100th NEC meeting of the PDP. There are those who say, look, the party might not survive 2027. But let's talk to those who have benefited in being a governor, a two-term governor in the PDP, and now a member of the National Assembly in the PDP. Senator Gabriel Suswam is live for us here in our studio. Thanks so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, Cyril.
I mean, where do I begin from? Senator Samaya was insisting that he is the National Secretary of the PDP. Does that mean that the party is still not out of the woods yet?
Yeah, I would say yes to some large extent and no. Yes, because by law and based on the judgment of the Supreme Court, which suggested that status quo should remain. To that extent, yes, Anyanwu will put claim to the secretaryship of the PDP. Now, when he left to contest for the governor of Imo, ordinary one would have expected that the right thing would have been done. That was to now put in an acting person, change right formally to INEC. I don't know. Obviously, that was not done. So he came back. The same party, National Working Committee, accepted him back. But the zonal committee of the party in the Northeast said, no, we want to bring in a new person. So the zonal committee of the party of the Southeast met and selected somebody different. Now, Anyanwu was elected by the National Convention of the party, right? But he can, once you leave to contest for an election, it is assumed that you left the office. We didn't know that within the constitution of the party, that wasn't to be. So he came back. But the Southeast nominated somebody else, met properly, constituted, so to speak, and nominated somebody else to take over from him, right? Now, the party, and you see, the National Working Committee, I keep saying this, the National Working Committee, under the leadership of the acting chairman, have been very unfair to the party. It is the same chairman who insisted that Anyanwu is the secretary of the party after he left and came back, that is now singing a different tune, creating a lot of confusion. If they have taken action at the time that the Southeast nominated somebody else, we wouldn't have been this quagmire.
Yeah, Senator, the position of the Supreme Court, and in a few cases now, it does look to me that it's a modern position of the Supreme Court to say, everybody go back to the party and obey the position of the party. Now, the Supreme Court has said, status quo, because the interpretation has been, what is the status quo? Is it what the secretary, the zonal position in the statute to say, Ude Okoye is now our new man, not Sam Anyanwu, or status quo before or after Sam Anyanwu left?
You see, the real thing is that with INEC, the person recognized by INEC is Senator Anyanwu. Because he was elected, his name is still there. When he left, it was for the party, the acting national chairman, to properly inform INEC that our secretary has resigned and has gone to contest another election.
But was he a resignation?
He didn't do that.
But was he a resignation in the first place?
This is the crux of the matter.
Yeah, because his contestation is that he took a leave
This is where I've always indicted the acting chairman. In all of what is happening.
So he's the architect of this problem.
He is, of course, because when Anyanwu came back, the Southeast, I was in a meeting of BOT, where the Southeast vehemently raised this issue. He was sitting there, and he didn't listen to them. He said, Anyanwu is the secretary. Now,
what has now changed?
Well, that is the question. That's the question that me too, I don't know what has changed. So the acting chairman has created a lot of confusion in the party. And people are failing to hold him accountable to it. We wouldn't have been this quagmire but for him.
But in your own wisdom, having been a two-term governor, a sitting senator, how do you think the party can handle it? Because it does look like Sam Anyanwu wants to fight.
Well, based on the judgment of the Supreme Court, now it is for the party sitting at NEC, because NEC is the only organ of the party that has such powers, that they will accept the report coming from the from the Southeast, that the Southeast have now nominated somebody to replace Anyanwu. Now, the acting national chairman will now properly write to INEC and file that this is the position of NEC, will now have a new secretary of the party. Without that, there's nothing that we can do. So,
I mean, so you can only replace by law if there is a vacuum. And the Supreme Court judgment, until it has been reviewed or it has been, time, it's by friction of time, it is being is now outdated in the sense that if the tenure is over, but if the Supreme Court says Sam Anyanwu is still the secretary of the party, how can the zoner, and he was elected at NEC, duly elected
by the convention,
by the convention, at the national convention, how can the zoner replace someone who is in office? Isn't that a quagmire in itself? Yeah.
He tendered a letter of resignation.
Not a leave to go and contest.
No.
That's the
when you occupy a party position, the constitution is very clear. You can't say that you are on leave to go and contest. You resigned. The national chairman, acting national chairman, is in complicity with all of this.
But can you actually resign and return? Does the constitution of your party envisage you resigning and returning?
This is why I say that most members of the National Working Committee are complicit in this. When he came back, people say, look, this man has resigned. They said, no, he didn't resign. That he whether took leave of absence. I've never heard that kind of thing.
But they say that it's really almost like it happens every time. That people leave the NWC to contest. Well, if they win, that's fine. If they don't, that it has always happened. So why is Sam Anyawu's case different?
No, he was supposed to have been properly replaced. He wasn't. At the time that he left to contest, he would have been replaced. They didn't replace him because they had ulterior motives. Who knows? They had ulterior motives. Because when he came back, like I said, I participated in the NEC. When he came back, I participated in the BOT. And I was there where most members of the Southeast, most stakeholders in the Southeast have left the party because of that. Because they say that this man left, we properly nominated somebody to replace him. And the NWC of the party opposed them. They didn't even listen to them.
They didn't absorb him.
No, they didn't. They didn't even listen to him.
But let's look at a bigger picture, the global picture. Yeah. Those who will say, the Sam Anyanwu issue, Ude Okoye matter, the Zona issue is just but a microcosm in a bigger issue, which there are those who say it is a weaker matter. And now is emerging that the gentle Governor Makinde has now been dragged into it. And Mr. Wike has said, look, I am going to fight on. I'm withdrawing from any reconciliation. And you, Governor Makinde, you are the architect of the problem of the party. He opened up yet another chapter in the crisis of the People's Democratic Party.
Well, Sheun, I would say that I'm not competent to comment on meetings that were held closed, or I wasn't privy to those agreements that Minister Wike had with those governors, which is very unfortunate. And I said this before, that if me and you, Sheun, I invite you and we agree that the paper before you, that at the end of the day, that paper belongs to you. It's only honorable at this level for me to honor that agreement. Why would they go? Wike said so very clearly that they had two meetings, one in Lagos, one in Abuja, and they all agreed. It means that the meeting in Abuja was to conclude what was started in Lagos. They agreed. So the man came back believing that his agreement, not only that, there was a meeting that I was privy to where the governors, the current governors, invited us, the former governors, to come and meet with them. We came. Wike was also invited. He said so in the meeting. He said, you invited me. Now, he believed, of those 3 meetings, he believed that whatever he had agreed with them, which even in the meeting that they met with us, not one of them mentioned to us that there were 2 previous meetings with Wike.
So they have been unfair to him.
They have been
based on the facts of the matter.
Based on what is on ground, yes. That is why I said before that I don't blame him for saying what he said, because these are the leaders of the party, for crying out loud. These are the leaders of the party.
Governor Suswam, I fear those of you who have become governor before. You know what? Because anyone who has become governor, even if it's for 3 months, there seems to be that tendency of I own all of these landmass and the people in it. And that tendency also gives them enormous powers. And when a Minister Wike, and you know that there are those who say underestimate or underrate Wike at your own peril. When he says, I will fight to finish, he's been fighting Atiku Abubakar based on the principle he said that Atiku Abubakar did not honor. And there are those who say it is what has led to the crisis in the PDP up until today. When Wike says, I will fight to finish, are you worried about that kind of statement?
No, you see, I'm not worried about what Wike said. And I've avoided in the past to reduce the conflicts in the PDP to become a Wike thing. The reason being that if the National Working Committee of the party had done the right thing from the onset, we wouldn't be where we are today. So it's not a Wike. All of them have engaged in all kinds of arrangement. Good enough. Wike is not somebody who hides anything when the chips are down. He have not hidden at any one point who and who he has engaged in any agreement with. And why would they engage in those agreements knowing that they will not honor them? Any other person would be angry. And so I put this blame squarely on the acting national chairman, Damago, and the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum. Because by virtue of that position, Bala is the president of PDP. Because he leads the part of PDP that sponsored, because governors are the one providing the money and sponsoring the party.
Yeah.
So, and Bala is the chairman of PDP Governors Forum. So if there was proper leadership, well guided, we won't be where we are today. So when they say Wike, it's not about Wike.
So
it's about the incapacity of the leadership of the party.
Damagum, Bala, Mohammed, you are putting this blame at their doorstep.
Squarely on their doorstep. If they are provided leadership, we won't be where we are today. So there has been a lot of deceit. Deceit. And that is what I think Wike is complaining about. You know, he feels shortchanged. I've agreed with you people, and he enters into those agreements with them, believing that they're the leaders of the party. Why hasn't he entered into any agreement with me? I'm a stakeholder in the PDP. But because those are the leaders. Those are the leaders. So you can't extricate them from the crisis in PDP. Damagu is a major
Are
corporate.
you able to provide a good leadership for the PDP?
Myself?
Yes. Gabriel Suswam.
I have not given the opportunity, so how will I do that?
Would you be able to do if given the opportunity?
That was why I wanted to be chairman.
Your kinsman, Yocha Ayu, is said to have led the party in this mess.
No, you see...
Can you trust another Benue man to now do justice by the party?
Shehu, running of an organization is not a tribal thing. It's about individuals. It's not a tribal thing. It's individuals. You know, you as an individual can handle this program better than me as an individual. If you can't handle it, it's not say that China can't handle this program. It is because you have failed as an individual. And so the acting chairman of the party has failed us. Let us call a spade a spade.
If Gabriel Suswam is given the opportunity,
I would have done far better, because I wouldn't engage in agreement with the Minister of FCT and renege on it. If I engage in agreement, in consultation with stakeholders, people who engage in agreement without consultation, of course, and meanwhile, other people's interests are at stake. It's not just individuals.
The feeling that the PDP is a dead party. Are you able to lead a dead party if given the opportunity? Is this party able to rise up again for those who believe that, look, this party is in a burial ground and is going to...
The party, I'll say so, the party is in intensive care unit. And people have survived from intensive care unit. I believe that if the right thing, which I doubt, that is my problem. Because most people no longer have confidence in the leadership of the party. And so it is difficult for us to resuscitate the party with the same leadership that would currently have.
They are due to go in November, isn't it? And there's going to be a convention by August.
Between now and August, there are fundamental issues, problem, crisis in the party. In a lot of states, in Benue State, for the first time, PDP have two offices, two factional groups in the state. Ditto for other states. And so those fundamental issues must be addressed first and foremost. If they are not addressed, we go to a convention.
You know the reason why...
How will you go to a convention without addressing the fundamentals that have led to this?
You know the reason, Your Excellency, why any well-meaning Nigerian or anyone who loves our democracy must pray for the PDP to survive. Whether those who want, the undertakers that want to take PDP to the burial ground are still insistent on burying the PDP, the fact remains that if opposition fails in this country, we are doomed. Because if you have only one thought and only one perspective in our democracy, it is dangerous. And that's why a lot of people who believe in this country believe that there needs to be a multiplicity of opinion about our democracy, and that's why opposition must thrive. And the likes of the PDP that has this kind of huge resource base and these roots in most part of the country must survive. The big question here is that, is the PDP serious enough to want to wake up? The danger of our democracy, that is the crux of the matter.
Sheung, the current president, at some point he was the only governor in AD.
Mm-hmm.
PDP had taken over. Obasanjo's second term took over almost the entire of the Southwest, except Lagos.
Yeah.
One would have thought that party was completely dead. Then metamorphosed into ACN, and then
to APC.
Today they are in government. PDP, if the governors properly put themselves together, in spite of the fact that a lot of them have one leg here, one leg there, we'll be able to, even with one governor, we can resuscitate PDP. But there must be sincerity of purpose. There's no sincerity on what is happening now. People have inordinate ambition, inordinately ambitious, and ambition is what is driving them. It's not the interest of the party. It's ambition that is driving a lot of
And I'll take you to one of the issues that I've been taking. That a guest was seated right there a few days ago and said, look, he quoted the Bible to say the wages of sin is death. And I asked him, and he said that the PDP is going to die. In fact, that he's in the burial ground. And that those who are in charge of the party are trying to bury it. And I asked him, what is the sin of the PDP? He said it's a mortal sin of not wanting to allow the South to run their affairs based on a concept of zoning arrangement after Buhari spent 8 years. And he said that mortal sin, the punishment of it is death. And
that is why
PDP is not able to wake up to that reality. Do you see the same thing?
No, that is not true. Under PDP, Obasanjo did 8 years as president from the South.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan did 6 years from the South. So I don't believe that it is because PDP did not allow a Southerner to emerge as a candidate in the last election.
Even after Buhari spent 8 years?
Buhari is not in PDP. That was APC.
Is PDP a party of Nigeria?
No, PDP is a party, but PDP has its own regulation.
But does it operate outside of the society?
No. It's not a question of operating outside of the society. What I'm saying is this. You have a society. Within that society, you have associations. Those associations are regulated by their own rules. So what does the constitution of the PDP say? It talks about zoning. True, it talks about zoning. I'm one of those who believe that if zoning was done properly, the best way to do this, the best thing that the constitution would have done, we say we have 6 geopolitical zones. why don't you put in the constitution that this thing should be moving according to geopolitical zone? But when you give this amorphous thing about South and West.
So you think that in 2027...
Presidency has gone to the South. This is the third time. The Yorubas have taken it twice. Are there no other people in the South? What would they say? Presidency has come to the North. How many times? A particular group of people in the North have taken it.
Two states, one state have taken it
One state have taken it twice. So what happened to the other states? So the best way that we can correct this, if they say that it's okay, this is the turn of the North Central, we will know that no person from any other zone will the North Central.
So you're saying that
in
2027, Senator Suswam,
yes,
that PDP could actually field a northern candidate?
No, I wouldn't know that. We haven't gotten that.
Based on your permutation.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, based on analysis about the historical antecedent in the Fourth Republic, you think that it could be okay for the PDP to field yet another northern candidate? Because that was what angered some of your very good friend, Samuel Otom, is one of those who believe that Atiku Abubakar emerging from the North as a candidate of the party is a no-no.
No, you see, it was a question of interest. It wasn't so much about whether it went to the North or to the South. It was a question of selfish interest. That is where I looked at it. If, incidentally, the person you mentioned was the chairman of the zoning committee, they couldn't zone. They couldn't zone it. It was the chairman of the zoning committee. They would have zoned the president and said, look, this committee have met. This committee was saddled with the responsibility of zoning the position of presidency. They were unable to zone it. And that was what led to the crisis. If they had zoned it, of course, would have known that, yes, this was zoned to this particular zone. But having said that, Shewun, it is important for us to know that in this country, we have less so much emphasis on where the president comes from. We don't talk about the capacity of the persons who are occupying this position. It doesn't matter who is the president if I can put 3 square meals on my table. And most Nigerians, it does not matter to them who is the president if they can transport themselves from one point to the other at a fair price. And so, because we've laid emphasis so much on where the president comes from, so people are now beginning to appropriate the issue of presidency to themselves.
That's why,
no longer to the country.
That's why tonight, a lot of people will be asking questions. By tomorrow, the Bola Tinubu government and the APC will have spent 2 years in this dispensation. And the question is whether or not, how have they fared? You are a leader and a big voice in the opposition. You see, what is your own assessment of this government in the last 2 years?
My assessment of this government, just like any other Nigerian, they have not done well at all. And I will say so because there are indicators all over the place. If, as a student of global economics, I would like to say that when you embark on certain economic policies that will impact very negatively on the people that you govern, you must also, in the same vein, initiate factors that will mitigate the pains that will be experienced by these people. Unfortunately, you devalue your currency, you remove subsidy both on energy, subsidy on energy and transportation. You have increased the MPR, that is the monetary policy rate. And so, there's no way that any country can survive that, especially a developing economy such as our own. More so that we are not a producing country. I know of the Asian tigers, countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, around that axis. The only country that survived this kind of policy was Singapore, because the man then, Lee Kuan Yew, said that, no, I know the implication of this, devalue the currency, remove subsidy, increase banking rate. There's no way that any developing economy can survive that. Especially in Nigeria, it's not a producing. We're not producing anything. These Asian tigers were producing economy.
You see it as reckless, right?
No. I'm not saying it's reckless.
How do you describe it?
I describe it as not being conscious of what you are doing. They're not conscious of the fact that they were taking a decision.
There are those who are pro this government who see it as audacious.
audacious.
But
audacious
you don't see it as such.
No.
That those decisions,
when you
if
say,
you were the president, how would you have done?
If I was the president, and I was removing subsidy on petroleum products, on petroleum products, I would have put in place, because you see, transportation drives a lot of things, inflation. Because somebody who picks food stuff from one point to the other at a certain cost, transfer that cost to the end user. So if I'm doing that, what are the mitigating factors that I'll put in place that can mitigate those pains? This government didn't do that. And so...
No buffer.
No buffer. And so it's a problem. You remove subsidy and you devalue your currency at the same time, and then you increase banking rate. People can no longer save in this country because inflation erodes completely the purchasing power of the money, of the currency.
Going to over 30%.
And now we have an inflation of about 34 as of last count that I know. That was December.
It's come back when they rebased.
No, it's been fluctuating.
Yeah,
but it's the same thing because
it's about inflation since they rebased. It's gone. The figures, the indices have now.
The bag of rice, bag of rice is still hovering around 80,000
in terms of the price of commodity.
Yes, that is it. Now you come back to transportation. Transport from Benue to Abuja here used to be about 2,000. Now it's about 12,000 now. So any person who is doing business and has to transport his products to Abuja here, that's cost. We moved automatically to the end user. So if we are taking such measures, you should put in place first and foremost mitigating measures first.
So they were not properly guided. That's what you're saying. They didn't look at the implications.
They were whimsical in addressing it. It was just based on, it's okay. People are saying that let's remove subsidies. Some people are benefiting.
But if this works out, because there are indices that are showing that this is looking good in some areas. Would President Bola Tinubu...
What is the general economic outlook? When you see, when they talk about...
There's a drop in food inflation.
When they say that, when you talk
which is
about
one of
GDP,
the bane of
when you talk about the GDP
effect
of a country, GDP of a country, that is the aggregate economic activities in the country. How is it looking, Shehu? It's not for you to go and isolate this one that, today, rice have moved from 100,000 to 80,000. How many people can afford that price? It's the affordability. It's the purchasing power that people have. And so when you say that there's growth, I wonder where the growth is, because I'm on the street with the people. So I talk with them. I know how they feel. I know the food price. And so when you say that there's growth and things are improving
so where generally, in these last 2 years, how would you assess it? Do you think that is it a poor, failed, or improving? Or how do you describe the performance of this government as it affects the life and the livelihood of the average Nigerian?
Nigerians are groaning. Nigerians are groaning. And there's palpable apathy, palpable, underlying, palpable apathy in the land. If any person is deceiving any person, there's palpable apathy.
So is it a state of failure?
You look
on the performance of government, or how do you put it?
Government is simply not mindful of the pains of the people.
They're not sensitive. That's
They're
what you're
not
saying.
Mindful, yes. If we call it sensitive, they're
but
not
mindful.
Some
of you are culpable, Senator, because and those of you in the National Assembly are saying as Robert,
I'm no longer in the National Assembly.
Yeah, but I mean, you are. Apologies for that. But some of you who are voices in the opposition, for example, there is a proposition to the National Assembly. The president requesting for the Senate to approve a new external borrowing plan of about $21.5 billion, part of the 2025-2026 borrowing plan. That those who are worried to say, look, this borrowing will drift us further into problems. There are those who will say, look, we need to borrow ourselves out of some of these because we need to cushion and get money into the system.
I'm a budget person. You see, once in the National Assembly from 2019 to when I left, I've always raised very strong opposition on borrowing because it affects the deficit. You see, when you operate a budget with a very high deficit, and you don't have financing items that are realizable, that you can finance those deficits, then you continue to borrow. So where we are today, It's very unfortunate. And this is why if we remove subsidy, the expectation is that there will be more money in the coffers. And so you will be less on borrowing. And so you can use these monies to finance your budget. Unfortunately, with the removal of subsidy, where is the money? Why are they still borrowing?
Is there any kind of hope, Senator?
Hope.
Do we have hope? The government said it's a government of renewed hope.
Well, you see, semantics are different from the reality. When any government comes with all kind of semantics, but the reality on ground is that people are getting poorer in the country. People are hungry in the country. People are hardly paying their children's school fees. That is the reality on the ground.
But does it look like things are getting better? Because there is in terms of the dynamics of it, 6.5 a dozen. The way, whether you see it half full or half empty, it's the manner in which you assess it.
Where you are sitting? Is the angle from where you are sitting?
Yeah. So from where you are sitting, do you see the cup as half full or half empty for the Nigerian people?
I will say it this way. You see, even if the intention of the president were genuine, they were in a haste. Those economic policies, you don't take them at the same time. You are trying to control inflation by using monetary policy to address it. And how are they doing it? The CBN simply have increased the MPR to 27.5%. You go to the bank to borrow, Shehu. The bank is about 34. Even if we are doing Yahoo business, there's no way you can borrow money from the bank and pay back.
And I always tell people, Senator, that the simple interpretation of it is that if you go to the bank to borrow money, if you have 100 naira in your hand, if you make a profit of 45 naira, 34 naira out of the 45 naira belongs to the bank.
To the bank.
So you are like the Americans, you are in deep trouble.
Now, which business? So in trying to, you see, you don't face one aspect of the economy, say you address it. You said you want to reduce inflation by increasing MPR so that it will affect the demand. People will no longer have. What about the economic growth? Once there is no economic growth in a society,
what must we do now? Can we fix this? The president has 2 years to his. If he gets reelected, lucky. But in a 4-year contract with Nigeria,
the president,
he has 2 more years.
The president can fix it if he sit down with his lieutenant and are sincere with him. Because, when you are in office, because I experienced it, most of the people who come, they are very sycophantic. They say, Mr. President, Nigeria say you are doing very well. And when somebody looks at it differently, they say, it's from the angle of an opposition. But the reality on ground is different. Now, the president, if his intentions were good in taking those decisions, his lieutenants have not done well. Because the president cannot do it alone. That is why he has lieutenants. That is why he appointed people.
But Governor Suswam, so where is the illusion now? You see what happened earlier in the week, last week or thereabout. The leaders of the APC said that the president, they clapped for him. Kudos to the president. And guess what? You are saying thumbs down. You know what the president got? The president got endorsement. Sole candidacy to 2027. But you are here seated and saying that they have not done well. Who is deceiving who?
I was in PDP when Jonathan got more endorsement over what is happening now. We lost that election. Those endorsements are self-centered. There are people who have appointment. They have not done anything for their people. So they will drag this and show the president that, yes, we are doing well. Most of those people are doing endorsement. They can only do endorsements in metropolitan cities. Let them go back to their villages.
They cannot be.
They cannot go back to their villages because the people are very hungry. You see, it will do them a lot better to say, Mr. President, well, you've done well here, but these are the issues. In that way, any leader can relate to that.
So, Governor, we are due to go. But just in about 40 seconds or thereabout, that's how much I'm being told that I have left. Those who believe that, look, Tinubu is going to coast home in 2027, the way a manner opposition is behaving. And I do say, if any party is to beat the APC, it may not be able, PDP cannot do it. And it has to be by a coalition of some political parties coming together. But some political analysts have said Tinubu is on the fast lane of getting a re-election.
Let me tell you something. I don't have any problem of a sitting president getting re-elected if all things are good. The coalition is being talked about. Who knew, or whoever thought that Peter Obi has no governor, had no one senator? How many votes did he get? 5 million votes.
Mm-hmm.
He almost, in most places, they say he won, he was rigged out.
He trounced the president in his own state.
The worst election that you can face is against the people, not against political parties. So my advice is that the president should address the people. He should forget about the sycophants who are endorsing him or about political parties. If we face the people, in most places where strong presidents have been removed, they have not been removed by political parties. They have been removed by the people.
Senator,
so it is worse to face the people and face political parties. Thank you so much.
Former governor of Benue State, former senator, representing Benue State in the National Assembly, Senator Gabriel Suswam. Thank you so much indeed. It's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you very much.
So much but that's our show for tonight. And thanks everyone for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. God bless Nigeria.